Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is a tutorial of how I made this trending dress, as you can see right here. So if it's something you're interested in, kindly stay tuned and watch the full tutorial from start to finish, okay, on this video. So to get this style, you'll be needing about 3.5 yards of fabric to do this. So, and I'm gonna have to fold my own fabric, both fronts and back piece, into two equal halves like this. And for the width of the folding, you just go ahead and divide your hip circumference by 4, and you add about 6 to 7 inches extra, okay, to it. And for the length of the fabric, the full length of this dress is 35 inches, and I minus 10 inches for my gathers effect, okay. And that means I'll be using 25 inches for the upper length, and I added 1 inch for joining allowance. So guys, let's get started. From the top of my paper, I went ahead to mark 10 inches for my bust point, and I'll roll it straight down. After marking my bust point, I also went down to mark 16 inches for my half length, and I'll just go ahead and roll it straight down. And after the 16 inches, I'll be using the remaining length as my hip line, okay. And I'll just go ahead and mark it right here. Now remember, I'll be cutting both the front and back together, okay. So that is why I joined the two of them together. So it's just the front, it's just the neckline that differentiates the both of them. So the next thing I'll just go ahead to do is to mark my neck width, which is 3 inches, okay. And I'll just go ahead and mark like this. And the next thing to mark is my shoulder measurement. I'll go ahead and divide my shoulder measurement by 2, and I'll go ahead and mark 7.5 inches like this. And the next thing I'll do is to determine how long I want my sleeve to be, okay. So I'll be using 9 inches for the length of my sleeve, since we'll be adding a crepe fabric or ashoke at the hem of the sleeve, okay. So I just went ahead to use 9 inches for the length of my sleeve. So the next thing I will do is to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope right here, and I'll just go ahead and mark, and I'll connect from my shoulder slope to meet my neck width. As you can see me showing you guys right here, I'll connect from my shoulder slope to meet my neck width. And the next thing I'll just go ahead to do is to come down by 1.5 inches for my back neck depth, okay. I'll come down by 1 inches for the back neck depth, and I'll just go ahead and give it a round neck shape like this, as you can see right here. So after that, I'll determine how open I want my sleeve to be. Now I'll be using the bust point area as my sleeve opening length, okay. And I'll just go ahead and remark the line, yes, on my bust point area like this, and I'll just go ahead and mark right here. So the next thing I will do is to divide my bust circumference by 4, and I'll go ahead and add 3 inches for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance, okay. That means I added 4 inches to my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll just go ahead and mark right here. Now whatever I have on my bust area, which is the bust point area, I will input the same thing on my waist area, okay, like this. And on my hip area, I will go ahead and divide my hip circumference by 4, and I will add 4 inches, okay, as my allowance. And I'll just go ahead and reconnect like this. Now I'll just go ahead and give it a C shape from my sleeve opening to meet my bust point area like this, as you can see right here. So the next thing I will do on my waistline area, I will come in by 1 inches, okay. I'll come in by 1 inch like this. This is to reduce bulkiness at that area and a little bit of shape. We'll be adding belts to it. And I'll just go ahead and reconnect it, okay, to meet the hip line like this, okay. So we're done with the drafting process, and I'll just go ahead and cut the shape, okay. I'll just go ahead and cut following the shape of the dress like this, okay, as you can see me doing right here, okay. So the next thing I'll just go ahead to do is to come down by 1 inch. That is if you're adding a pocket. I'm not adding a pocket to this particular dress, but if you're adding a pocket to yours, you come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inches from your waistline area, and you go ahead and notch both the front and back together. After this 1 inch, you come down by 6 inches, okay. That is for your pocket opening and notch. So the next thing I will go ahead to do is to cut out the back neckline. Yes, I'm cutting both the front and back neckline together. That is this back neckline. I'll just go ahead and cut it, and I'll cut the shoulder slope up like this. Okay, so the next thing I'll just go ahead to do is on the front pattern, I will go ahead and remark the 3 inches width. Okay, remember the width for this neckline is 3 inches. I'll go ahead and remark it from the shoulder line to meet the hem line like this. Okay, as you can see me doing right here, I'll go ahead and mark it right here. So I'm taking out this 3 inches and I'll replace it with either an ashoke or crepe fabric. Okay, if you're adding an ashoke to yours, fine. If you're adding a crepe fabric to yours, fine. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and cut. Now I'm cutting only the front piece, okay, not the front and back. You can go ahead and take your back piece aside. You can go ahead and keep it aside so that you not cut the both of them. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and trim it off like this. Okay, as you can see right here. So the next thing for you to do is to join your shoulders together. Okay, you go ahead and join one piece of your shoulder, that is of your front shoulder, to meet the back piece together with the back shoulder. Okay, and also another piece of your front shoulder to meet the other side of your back shoulder, right sides facing right side like this. Okay, you just go ahead and join them together. You place them on the neckline area to meet the sleeve opening, and you just go ahead and join them like this. So I'll just go ahead and keep this aside, and let's work on the crepe fabric. Now remember, I removed 3 inches on fold. Okay, remember I removed 3 inches on fold. Now opening this will give you 6 inches. Okay, now let's reconfirm the measurement. So this is 6 inches for the width of what I removed. Now we'll go ahead and replace it on a crepe fabric or an ashoke fabric. Okay, now for the length of this fabric, I just went ahead to use a very long piece. Okay, yes, I went ahead to use a very long piece, and for the width I added 1 inch to the 6 inches that we removed. Okay, which is now 7 inches. Okay, so my fabric piece was not really enough, so I'll be joining the fabric piece, okay, at this midpoint area. But that aside, for the width of the fabric, we'll go ahead and use 7 inches because of joining allowance. Remember, we removed 3 inches. Okay, and I went ahead to add 1 inch for joining allowance. Okay, and that's also for this particular long piece that I'll be using. Remember, I said my fabric was not enough, so I'll just go ahead and join it. After joining it, I'll go ahead and fold it and give it a very good press. Okay, I'll fold into 2 equal halves and give it a very good press. And for the crepe that I'll be attaching at the sleeve area, I'll be using 6 inches. That is 3 inches on fold. And for the length, you measure whatever you have on your sleeve area as the length, and you'll be needing 2 pieces of this. Okay, after that, you also go ahead and fold into 2 equal halves and give it a very good press. Okay, like this. You also give it a very good press like this. So guys, let me just be show you guys how to connect this. Okay, how to sew this. So this is the back pattern, this is open, so this is the front piece of it like this. This is the front piece of our pattern, and I'll go ahead and place it right side facing right side. Okay, and I'll go ahead and sew on one shoulder, and I'll place the other shoulder on the other side of the back piece. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and sew right here. Okay, so the next thing for us to do is to cut out our belt. Yes, it's cut out our belt, and for the length of this belt, I think I use about 30 inches for the length of the belt. Okay, and for the width of the belt, I use 6 inches for the width of the belt. Okay, so this was cut on fold because you'll be needing 2 pieces of each belt. Sorry, you'll be needing 2 pieces. That is one for the right side and the other one for the left side. Okay, so that is why I cut 2 pieces of it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and fold this right here, and I'll give it that belt kind of shape at the hem of it. Okay, so this is it. I'll just go ahead and divide my piece into 2 equal halves, and I'll go ahead and sew. Okay, you go ahead and sew from one end to meet the other end, like this. Okay, you will not sew this particular opening side so that you use it to turn it. So I'll do the same thing to the other belt piece, okay, and I'll iron it. So the next thing I went ahead to do was, like, okay, I'm done sewing the shoulder area. Yes, I'm done showing the shoulder area, and I'll now go ahead and input this crepe that I'll be attaching at the front neckline. Okay, now remember I said you measure whatever you have from one hem to meet the other hem. Okay, yes, look at how you measure it from one hem to meet the other hem. That is to know the length of fabric you will need. Okay, so when I'm done, I'll just go ahead and notch the midpoint of the back neckline. Okay, you go ahead and fold it into 2 equal halves like this, and you'll notch the midpoint of the back neckline right here. So after notching the midpoint of the back neckline is to determine how open you want your neckline to be. Okay, now I will come down by 8 inches from my shoulder line. I'll come down by 8 inches from my shoulder line, and from this point I will measure backward from the 8 inches to the midpoint of my back neckline. Okay, like this. So this will be the length of my opening, like this. Okay, this will be the length of my opening. So I'll just go ahead and keep this aside. Now this crepe fabric that I'll be attaching to the front piece, remember I said I went to join mine at the midpoint because my fabric is not enough. So I'll go ahead and fold it like this. Now the length of this fabric is the length that I measured earlier from one hemline of the front pattern to meet the other hemline. Okay, that is the length of this fabric. So right now, go ahead and fold it into 2 equal halves like this. Okay, remember I said you should iron it first. Yeah, so that will serve as a guide. Now from this midpoint right here, I'll go ahead and mark out that measurement that I took earlier. That is from my neckline opening. So mine is 13 inches. Okay, yes, mine is 13 inches. I'll go ahead and mark it right here. That's 8 inches that I marked out and to meet the midpoint of my back neckline. Okay, so that is what I am marking right here, and mine is 13 inches. So I'll just go ahead and sew from this 13 inches straight down on the midpoint to meet the hemline area. Okay, I'll go ahead and sew it straight down to meet the hemline area like this. Okay, as you can see me doing right here. And when you're done, you just go ahead and fold it up into 2 equal halves like this and give it a very good press. So guys, the next thing for me to do is to attach this crepe fabric on my sleeve area. Now remember I said you should also go ahead and fold it into 2 equal halves and iron it very well. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and place it on my sleeve area, right side facing right side of it right here, as you can see me doing right here. So now I'll go ahead and sew. Okay, using 1/2 an inch, I'll go ahead and sew. Whatever thing I do to one end, I'll do to the other end right here. Okay, as you can see me showing you guys. So the next thing for me to do is to attach this crepe fabric to meet to the main fabric. Okay, so I've gone ahead to iron it after sewing it. I went ahead to iron it on fold, and this is what we have now. I'm using the midpoint of this crepe fabric. I'll go ahead and attach it to meet the midpoint of my back neckline. Remember, we've notched our back neckline earlier, so I'll go ahead and place the midpoint of this crepe fabric, and I'll go ahead and attach it on our back neckline like this. Okay, as you can see right here, and I'll just go ahead and pin it, because we'll be sewing this from one end to meet the other end. Okay, so you go ahead and pin and sew from one end to meet the other end like this. Okay, so after that you go ahead and shape the inside. Okay, after attaching this cape to it, you go ahead and shape the inside. So guys, I am done shaping. Yes, I wanted to shape it to 1 inch, and I added my belt to it. Okay, so the belt, I attached it on the waistline area. Yes, so when shaping, I had to leave this opening so that I'll be able to sew in my gathers or pleats on it. Okay, so this is what we have, and I'll just go ahead and keep it aside. And now this is for the lower part. So for this, remember I said the length that I minus is 10 inches, but I went ahead to add 2 inches for joining allowance, so that makes it 12 inches right here. Okay, and for the width, I went ahead to use 3.5 inches width and 3.5 yards, 3.5 yards, sorry. Yes, I went ahead to use 3.5 yards for the width of it. Okay, so you can go ahead and run a pleating or a gathers to it. So for me, I went ahead to pleat it. So using the opening that I left, I'll go ahead and pleat it from one end to meet the other end. Okay, I'll go ahead and pleat it from one end to meet the other end, and this is how I will pleat it together. Okay, so this is the lower part and I'm pleating it on to meet the upper part like this. Okay, so guys, I am done pleating and this is what we have right here. Okay, so this opening that I left, I'll go ahead and reshape it with my 1 inches. I'll close it from that opening to meet the hemline, and when I'm done, I will go ahead and fold. Okay, I'll fold it round like this, as you can see me showing you guys. So just go ahead and fold it round. After that, then when I'm done, I'll go ahead and weave the inside of it. Okay, so guys, we're done and this is the dress. Okay, so if you've watched to this point, thank you so much for watching and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.